Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ham Radio Clubhouse. I got my cigar. Hope you do too. Well, good evening, everybody. Well, that was cool. That was different. And that was very, very cool. So,
was
that? Was that
Jeff wrote that? He did that whole thing, right?
He did everything. He wrote it. He played all the parts. He, the CQ in the background with the rhythm, and he's a talented guy, man. We're gonna learn more about this guy in a few minutes. We're gonna learn so much about him.
CQ Poto in the riff there.
yeah, throughout the entire song. Throughout the entire
CQ Poda.
That was good. That was really cool. That was awesome. That's our first customized musical intro on our Ham Radio Clubhouse, Don. That's awesome.
We're very honored that Jeff took the time to do that. Took some time out of his busy schedule. He's a big supporter of me and all of us that we're doing here. So he hams it forward, and we're going to hear more about this guy. But before we do, like what we do every Tuesday night, we're going to say hello to everybody. Thanks to everybody in the chat tonight. We hope you're having a good week. And if you're not, guess what? Within the next hour or two, you will, because we're going to make you feel like at home. You're going to relax, and you're with family here. So, speaking of family, Molson, kick it off and say hello.
What's up, everybody? You know, before I get into it, I got to say, I was reading the news today, and amazing news. Guys, this is awesome. Breaking news. Hold on, where is it? Scientists. I was actually going to download some like news intro kind of crap there. Anyway, so what is it? Strange radio waves coming from the heart of the Milky Way stump scientists. And so it says the energy signal is unlike any phenomena studied before and could suggest a previous unknown stellar object, according to a new study. The brightness of the object varies dramatically, and the signal switches off and on, apparently. Dude, let me tell you something. Scientists are having trouble with this, and I called my buddy, who's, you know, a little bit of inside information. And supposedly, the message is saying, soda to soda, K6ARK from Alpha Lima India Echo November. Listen, Adam, if we get invaded by aliens in 2022, it is your fault, okay? And I'm going to lead the cancel culture against the K6ARK antenna if we are being invaded by aliens. That's all I got to say. Thumbs down for every video from now on if that happens in 2020.
Oh,
No.
you're starting already.
That was last year.
You started the rant right out of the gate. Maybe
I thought it was so funny.
maybe the aliens want. Wait, have you ever thought maybe the aliens want to tap into Adam's knowledge and intelligence?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
On antennas.
Nobody-
Yep.
Think about it, huh?
Listen, man.
Well, there's the other thing.
If-
Daniel, are you sure it's coming from the center of the universe and not Uranus?
Maybe Jupiter.
There we go.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine like some alien, whatever? Supposedly that's offensive to aliens, but like, what's this? Space on the air? Another what? Got to make contact with this guy. Like, see,
But wait. The
God.
Earth is flat and space is fake.
yeah,
Abel,
it's just
back me up on that.
Yeah, it's just bouncing back. That's all it is. It's bouncing off the dome.
Molson,
no,
you got any more for us, or we want to wait till a little bit later? Are you? Do you got more?
I just thought it was funny. So I guess not everybody shares my humor, but okay.
We all do.
Anyways, no,
We
I'm
all
good,
do.
man.
Did you-
my week.
Besides
my
that,
week is awesome.
besides getting your news from the National Enquirer, is everything going good?
I won't tell you where the article came from.
QRZ?
Everything's good, man. What a week. Great week. So, anyways, move on to somebody else.
All right,
Ooh,
my
get
buddy
off of
Beer,
me.
my buddy
What?
Beer Snack. How's it going,
Buddy.
Mhm.
All right. So, real quick disclaimer for everybody listening on the podcast that that we have now, and just be advised, okay, that we are not responsible for anything that happens with regards to losing your beer on your keyboard or hitting a telephone pole or other vehicles because you're laughing too hard. It is not our fault. Just remember that. That's our disclaimer. We're done with that. Second, you're looking at the content I'm creating tonight. You're looking at the content. Yeah, you'll see more content on Thursday night at the FT8 off. That's it. If you're looking for something on my channel, not yet. Still arguing with Packet Radio and trying to get out of the antenna, out of the apartment, but sadly still fighting hard. Got a couple things coming in tomorrow that I ordered, and hopefully I'll be able to get out of the apartment to get to the nearest packet station. So that's about it. That's what I'm looking at.
Well, I mean, you're looking good. The beard looks good. The hat looks
Thank
great.
you.
And I got a joke for you tonight. What do you call a poor Santa Claus, Beer Snack?
Remove beer from mouth.
Yeah, because it could be funny. It just could be funny. What do you call a poor Santa Claus?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Saint Nicholas. All right, one more for you.
You mean Saint Nicholas?
Saint
right?
Nicholas. All right,
Daniel. I want my quarterback.
And where do you learn to make a banana split?
Ballet.
Sunday school. Oh, come
That was-
on.
Okay,
That was a
that
rough.
was good.
This is a
That
rough crowd.
that was
Okay.
cute.
All right. Yeah, that was good.
This
All
is-
right.
That was
listen,
cute.
that
It wasn't good. It was cute. Okay.
That was-
Yeah.
All right. It's listen. Those are two that you could tell around the dinner table this weekend. With young kids. You got your nieces, nephews coming along. I mean, come on. Hey, listen. This is a family show. Sometimes.
Hey, Don.
Yes.
Don.
What?
I know that there's a radio operator out there. Every time they go on the air, they sound like an owl.
Who? Oh, shut up, man. You know something? I'm a night, everybody. 7-3. Oh my God, you guys are killing me.
There we go.
Beer snack, love you, brother.
Love you too, Don.
All right, Steve. Steve, show me some love, Steve.
Oh my God, it has been a week already. Stuff hitting the fan at work. Unfortunately, my POTA for this coming weekend is going to get cut short because I have repairs to do on the house. I found water damage and insect damage in my fascias. So, got a lot of work coming up there. Hopefully, I'll be able to get out some on Sunday, though. So,
All right. What's the plan of attack? A ladder and a flamethrower and
no, my father's coming down Friday night from his house up outside of Columbia. We're going to rip out the fascia board and the backer.
Mm-hmm.
I already have the new one in. I got to pick up the paint tomorrow. I'm going to paint everything this week.
Gotcha.
So when we put it up, it'll already be painted. And then gutters go up right after. So.
All right, so listen, you all. Anybody in Steve's area, the man can use a hand. He's buying pizza and beer, and it's called a work party. We used to do that with towers. We'll do that with home improvement.
The beer fridge is full. I did get approval for the tower.
Ooh,
So the
nice.
tower.
So it'll turn into a tower party.
Yes, the
can,
tower
very
will
easily.
be.
Don't you know that you need your fascia board to secure your tower? I mean, your tower to secure your fascia board.
Right.
Oh,
Well,
really?
so
Yeah.
the fascia board that's damaged is on the front of the house. The tower's going on the back of the house.
Turn the house around. It's all good.
No, because I
just
just finally got the
thing to do.
solar
Over the
panels
top.
put back on the back.
Oh.
I finally got my solar panels back up. So only 2 months later.
Well, now you have power at the house. Good.
Yes. Thanks,
There's
Kurt.
Here's Kurt.
There you go, Kurt.
I was waiting.
Your
I was
hand.
waiting for some of our great supporters out there. So.
Yep.
Mhm.
I figured I'd be getting one of these,
Yeah, you could.
Here, wait,
All
hold
right.
on. I'll play it louder for you.
Yeah, the violin.
Let me turn it up for you, Beer Stack.
Well, remember,
Wait,
you
whoa.
can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
Tuna fish. Yep.
Yeah, all right. Joe Brett, the sultry sounds of Mississippi. Please.
Hello, how are y'all doing tonight?
There you go. There you go. See?
Hang on, let
I
me
didn't
turn on
write
the
it.
bass response.
Yeah.
Go for it now.
Hang on a minute. Hey, bud, did you clean your mess up? I take care of family business there for a minute.
Did somebody get that? Did somebody get that for a future audio clip?
Oh, yeah. We'll cut that out here in a minute.
We'll cut it out.
We didn't write a script for tonight. I just showed up. I heard there was going to be some fun and some good guests and a great chat room. So here I am hanging out.
Excellent.
All right. Always fun. Always hanging out.
Yo, speaking of support and everything, guys, we got the buy us a beer option. Beer snack. You want to tell everybody about that?
Pick a panelist. Pick a member.
I'll do it. Let me do it. We have an option to buy us a beer, guys. And by the way, coming up in the next couple of episodes, we got some really fun things that are going to be talked to you guys about. We're looking forward to it. So buy us a beer. You don't have to. We talk about it once and that's it. But I have a question, Don. So what we have Jeff on tonight, November Yankee 1 Mike, right? And before we do that, my question, we're going to read this from Taz. Taz in 07 says, I would like to say a huge thank you to HRC, Coffee and Ham Radio, all ham tubers, and the chat. I received my tech in June, general in August, and extra in October. It is all because of you and not me. Keep doing what you do. Listen, Taz, fantastic job. We're all proud of you. We're happy for you. And listen, give yourself the credit that you do. The reality is that we can do these shows, but you're the one who put the hard work in, and congratulations.
Absolutely.
And keep it up, man.
Congratulations,
Don't
Taz.
stop.
Taz, and you know what it's about? It's called fun. Now you're going to start having the F word, F-U-N, fun. Get out
fun.
there and have fun, and that's what it's all about.
Side note, I accused Josh today. He put out a video on Patreon, and I accused him of using the F word.
All right, so I've been having fun tonight. Hey guys, I got a different cigar I want to tell you all about.
Uh-oh.
So I like to support the local cigar shops, and I strayed away from this one, and I never should have. Shame on me, but you know something? Penance is good for you, and when you say you're sorry, that's called being a man. All right. Buddy of mine at work, his name is Matt, and Matt, if you're listening, or if you're on the replay with Fig and the rest of the boys up there where we work, Up in Smoke in Cromwell, Connecticut, they got a website. Just go to Google, Up in Smoke, not the Cheech and Chong movie. It's a great cigar shop. All right. Customer service is A++. And I'm smoking one of his personal brands. It's called the Mia Rosa. This was made, developed by Tony, the owner, in honor of his daughter. Great gal, smart, works in the smoke shop. So I met her, good girl. But this is a fantastic smoke, nice Nicaraguan binder. It's if you like something strong and heavy, this is it. But he has all of the other brands that you can think of. So again, thanks to my boys up in the 911 center. I want to give a huge shout because they said, Don, come and support the local guy. I went in, and I've been in there twice already, so you know what that meant. So
hey, Don, I got a question for you.
Yes,
Paid his electric bill.
Yeah, there you go. So they have a red wall with a shelf and then a green. The panel on the bottom is green.
Yes,
I want to make sure I
yes.
got the right one. Okay, cool.
It's all kind of red. It says Up in Smoke. Just say Up in Smoke, Cromwell, Connecticut.
Aha! I ran away.
Hey, there we
Hey,
go.
Vern.
Thanks, Vern.
Thank you. And guys, if
The
you're
wrong
buying
button.
beers, guess what? It's the same as buying me a cigar. So from all of us here, and Shane, who's working tonight. Hey guys, we gotta think of Shane for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The man's working his butt off tonight. He cannot be here, but he is with us. And Hart tonight, we will make sure anything that if the stable's got to get clean, guess what? We'll save it for him because that's what kind of friends we are, right? But no, we wish Shane well. If he has an opportunity to get out of work and pop in, he will. So the door's always open for our brother. So
He's dealing with weather issues right now.
Weather.
Listen, so Don, I have a question for you.
yes,
Okay, so we found out that Jeff was coming on the show. Before we bring him in, can you tell me a little bit about what to expect tonight? Because I honestly have no clue.
all right.
Who Jeff is or anything like that. And this is genuine. I really have no clue. Let me know. Give it to me in your elevator speech.
I'm gonna preface it by saying this. For those you know, so you guys have been watching us for how many weeks now? I think we're on what week 28, week 29, 30
29.
weeks?
29.
29. For everybody who is watching, listening on the podcast, our shows are real. Nothing has been really pre-scripted. I think week 1, we said, oh my God, we got to meet the 2 days before. We got to talk about the show. And guess what we said? We said, no, we really don't talk about the show up until literally 5 minutes before. And it's real. It is real. So if you see something happen, guess what? It's live, like Memorex. Okay. I met this guy, Jeff, about 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. And he is an incredible guy. I blame him every time I see him when I run home or I run to the Amazon app and I buy something. He's a great influencer, whether it's ham radio or not. It doesn't make a difference. He is awesome. He's a friend. When I have a question, he's one of those go-to guys, okay? And not only can you borrow the rake, you can knock on his door, borrow the rake from him and give it back 6 months later. He doesn't care. But he's one of those guys. You need a screwdriver. But by the way, he'll tell you he'll probably show you some fancy snancy screwdriver. Next thing you know, you're going to go buy it on Amazon and give that one back to him, or give him the new one and you keep his old one. He's a hard rocking guy. He loves his music. He is an incredible. Who's someone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, someone. Someone is everyone.
Jeff likes his Van Halen, and I remember back in the 1980s, 1979, 1980s, when this guy was working in the restaurants and being a dishwasher, working in the kitchen and rocking out when Van Halen was with David Lee Roth and I mean rocking out hard, when them coming into the New Haven Coliseum and all over the United States and around the world. There was Jeff probably learning to play the bass and other instruments. He's an incredible musician. He's an incredible ham. He's an incredible gentleman to society. He knows IT. Okay, I don't know nothing about IT. All I know is there a Cat 6 or a Cat 7 involved, and plug it in here, plug it in there. That's what I know about IT. So Jeff, he's a good IT guy. But from ham radio, the man loves his HF. He loves his HF and a few other digital modes. Yeah.
Hey, Don. Can we let Jeff talk now?
I was just going to say, why don't we just bring him in and let him tell you about it? There he is.
Oh man,
dude, it wasn't it wasn't a eulogy. It was all big. It was great.
I was like, that was the longest damn elevator speech I ever heard.
Well,
I'll tell you that
something.
Or elevator pitch.
This guy, let me tell you something. This guy is not. You don't go to the first floor. You go all the way up to the Chrysler building.
75th floor.
You go all the way up with this guy that we have here tonight. So, Jeff, say hello to everybody.
hello everybody. Now, I'm trying to figure out what exactly I did to get that type of an intro from you there, Don.
Because somehow you fell into. I'll say you came into my life. You fell into my life, and I fell into yours. But I don't know. And
well, it's funny you say that, because we did meet that long ago, but we didn't live anywhere near each other. We barely knew each other, and then somehow we ended up in the same town, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, it really is. So, but
Jeff, he wants to borrow.
How many tools are you missing?
No, I don't want to borrow. I'm not going to borrow a rake from him. I don't have to borrow.
He wants to borrow a ladder, Jeff. That's why you got that intro. Okay,
Well,
he's like, Jeff.
I'm missing quite a bit of tools.
Yeah, he's going to have to
Maybe
come
I
to
should
my
stop
house.
by, Don.
All right, where should we begin with this guy? This guy is such a fun, knowledgeable. I'm just trying to think. I mean, I got some questions here, but
Don,
Molson,
stop building him up.
Jack of all trades, master of none is
Molson,
how I
ask him.
describe myself.
All right, Molson, ask him a question.
Listen, the more you build him up, the harder he'll fall if he doesn't make the benchmark. So you got to set the bar low.
This is very
No,
true.
I'm serious. Jeff knows what I'm talking about. Jeff, I got your back, man. I know exactly. This is where you're like, now the pressure's on to perform. So,
Molson,
Jeff, how long? How long you? We don't want that kind of performance. Listen. So, how long you been a ham, Jeff?
Well, let me start by saying to you, Mr. Canada, that Rush is my other second favorite band. So I'm all about Rush as much as I am Van Halen. But
Nice.
I got licensed in the mid 90s. So however long ago that was.
Okay. Very good. And so, like,
I don't do
what
math
was
well.
just-
That's one thing I don't do well is math.
just quickly, because I know you have a presentation. There's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. But like, how did you get into the hobby? And like how did it all start? And then what brought you to today from A to Z?
Well, I'm
Quick.
glad you asked. I have a story behind that. I
Give
grew
it to us.
up. I grew up with my grandfather being ham radio, and I think there's more than one of us here that had the same deal. We used to visit my grandfather, who lived in the Miami area when I was growing up, once a year, maybe twice, if we were lucky to get down there to see him. And every year he'd encourage me. You know, he was an active ham. He always had radios out. He'd had I remember his old Yaesu. He had a 101, I think, and he would ask me to get on the mic and talk during his QSO, and I'd always shy away. Can you imagine that? I'd shy away now. And he always had a 2-meter rig out in the screen porch, and he had a fold down tower. He had the whole thing, and always trying to, you should do this, you should do this. And way back when, as we know, the Morse code was a requirement, and I just didn't want to deal with it. In the meantime, fast forward to the mid '90s, my father decided to go through and get his ham radio operator license once they introduced the no code deal, and that's when I joined suit as well. So we both became hams, and the story behind my call sign is it is a vanity, and it was one of my many grandfather's ham radio call signs. So NY1M was the call sign my grandfather had just when he passed away in the '90s, early 2000s, and my father, whose call is Whiskey 1 Zulu Bravo India, was also one of my grandfather's call signs. So we both have one of my grandfather's call signs throughout the year, which I think is pretty neat. So I'm kind of a third generation ham.
Cool.
Very nice.
Very cool.
I like telling that story.
So did you go? So you went like right to general, or do you went right to like?
So how did it go back then? No code tech first. I wanted to further up my license, so I did study some code, and I got the 12 words for general you needed back then? 13.
Yeah.
So I overstudied, and I ended up getting doing the written and the code to get to general. From there, you could take a written to get to advanced, and then they dropped the code altogether. So I took the next written to go to extra. So I am extra. Yay me.
Now, quick little side note on that. Do you like? I guess like you said, there's a lot of people who had family, like like you said your grandfather, and then Izzo, he has family that was connected. Do you feel that the nostalgia wears off after a while, or is that always there, or was that ever even part of it? Like that whole like, I don't know. You know what I mean by that, like.
I know what you mean by that. It was never something. So we weren't all hams at the same time. So my father and I were, right, and we've spoken not so much on HF because we not anymore, but we have always lived kind of close. So 2-meter stuff, even as recent as D-Star. But I never did get to talk to my grandfather on a radio, right? So I never got to talk to him that way. So, but just the story alone is enough for me, right? I love being able to say
For
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, and then what are you doing with the hobby today? Like, what's your biggest, like, how do you, like, obviously you're, we have a presentation you're going to be sharing some stuff with. How are you specifically in the amateur radio world today? Are you still doing SSB? Are you still doing code? Are you still doing digital? Are you doing digital? Like, how are you using it? And how much are you into the hobby? Like,
so
right now?
I have many hobbies. I like to keep myself active, from riding my motorcycle to playing in my bands to working ham radio to you name it. Oh, antique radio restoration, I think we'll talk about later. So for me, the hobby's cyclical, if I said that right and didn't stutter on my own words. When I am in the hobby, and I am now, I have HF in the vehicle. I have an FT891 with the what do they call that, screwdriver antenna?
ATAS.
And the ATAS 120A, and I really like that setup. It works really well. I just had to repair it recently, but it does work. So I try to work HF while I'm in the car, and that's SSB, right? At home, I have, I guess it's considered old now, an FT950, and I like my Yezus for HF. And I absolutely love working digital modes, but not so much the newer, what was it, FT or JT88 or whatever those are. I'm confusing tube names with
You are.
digital. I'm thinking KT88s, and I loved PSK. It's not so much popular anymore, but I did really like PSK. I liked combining computers with HF. I like combining the two things I really like to do, and computers and IT is what pays the bills. So. So to answer your question, I guess, yeah, I'm somewhat active. Like I said, when I'm in the car, I like to try and work HF. I was heavily, well, I guess I still kind of am, into D-Star as well. I helped build a local repeater in town with D-Star, and I still more or less responsible for it, even though it's kind of runs itself these days. That's how good I am.
Yeah, he's good.
Wow.
He's my text, Molson. When I have a problem, guess what I do? Speed dial text. Jeff, I forgot this. Jeff, should I do this?
Yeah,
Jeff,
yeah.
have you ever been like, I'm not in that season right now? Call someone else.
No. I'm too nice for that.
See, the man hams it forward. I told you, he hams it forward. See,
Don, if you're really having a problem, okay, you hit the Windows key and R, type CMD, okay. When it comes up, you type Format C, enter, and walk away.
I don't know what the hell does that do.
We
What
call
the
him
hell does-
/ start star.
Don't tell me to do something. Don't tell me to give me a blue screen or something.
It's the blue screen of death.
See?
Yeah.
Oh,
If you need help, just let me know. I'll get on there with Team Viewer and I'll do a sys key right away. Don't worry about it. So, anyway, that's
Kaspersky.
So, so you do radio repairs. That's what I understand. Like you said,
Yeah.
that. So is it vintage or just everything?
It's mostly vintage. So, trying to think what prompted me to get into it, and I do have a little bit of a story. So I was speaking of relatives that are hams. My father-in-law, my wife's stepfather, was also a ham radio operator. He had I lived in a house. I bought that before I moved to my current town. I lived in the home he grew up in. We bought it from him, and in that house, and I think it was in a barn or in the basement. I think it was all over the place. Was an old antique radio, and I didn't have the heart to throw it away, so I kind of carried it around. And when I moved to this place in 2006, I took it with me, and there it stayed in my basement, staring at me, collecting spider webs and that kind of thing, until about almost 3 years ago, when I finally said, you know what, I've always wanted to learn about tube circuitry, antique tube circuitry, because, that kind of falls into both amplifiers and guitar amplifiers and things like that. So, let me take a look at this thing and see what I can do. And I started digging into it, and I learned really quickly that I don't know what the heck I'm doing at all. So I kind of self-taught myself. I used YouTube a lot. I can, if you want me to, I can rattle off a ton of channels that I watched, and I learned safety. That beer snack guy's laughing at me a lot.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm going through the chat here.
Well,
Greg and Norm are going at it. And
I have no complex. Don't worry. I just
Jeff.
part of my.
Listen, Greg and Norm, I offer counseling and life coaching. So hit me up in the Discord. I'd be happy to help you guys out.
Hell of a lot better than a Dr. Phil, because Molson's going to just tell you like it is. Period. No sugarcoat.
So to finish that short story I was making long, I had in my possession an antique radio for a long time, and just decided one day that I wanted to learn how to fix it. And that was supposed to be the end of it. When I
Famous last words.
Yeah, right. When I started digging into it, I realized that I need practice. So I started finding, smaller other old radios, and that turned into a collection. And when I show you some pictures, you'll see how severe it got.
I love to see the pictures, and actually we'll probably bring up a lot of questions, because we talked about that before. It's just getting the mind around. We all operate in a radio, and we, connect coax and all that stuff, but started getting into the nitty gritty, the modules, the components of the radio is a whole nother skill level. So I'm definitely going to have some questions on that, but we do have a question from one of the guys in the chat. What do you do for a living?
I am an IT guy. So to be specific, I'm trying to think how I can word this, because there's lots of aspects to IT these days, right?
You pick up the phone.
Yeah. No.
Ask them if they turn it off and turn it back on
what
again.
My name is Bob. My name is Bob.
I yell at people for using their CD tray as a cup holder. No,
They still have those?
I know that's
the best cup holder ever.
That's how far back I go.
Those
right?
with AOL users have them.
The part of IT I'm in professional services, so I deliver projects. So I'm not help desk or something like that. I deliver projects, and the areas I focus in are compute and storage and systems. So I work a whole lot in virtualization, I'm sure some of you guys know what VMware is, and
Mhm.
Cisco UCS, NetApp storage. Those are some of my fortes, as it were.
There you go.
Right over this head. Listen, I'm messaging these guys asking what computer I need to get at work. I have no clue what you're talking about. Systems reboots. No. It means nothing to me. So I'm just like Mac. That's it. That's the thing with Macs. I know I'm gonna get the hate, but it's just like this thing's working.
It's
this
funny.
thing is good.
You say that. I'm an IT guy, and for years I've done Windows Active Directory and all things Windows, and it paid my bills, but don't think I haven't used a Mac for the last 15, 20 years. So they just work. So that's what I use personally.
45 autos.
So for direct things here, right? Dan posts it in our Discord. He says, Dan, do you think this is a good computer? I said, it looks okay. It might have trouble with this, but it'll still do what you need it to do. But it'll have trouble doing this. All right. And then I said, Steve, help me out here. Steve comes back. He says the processor's not fast enough. Dan goes, English, boys. I said, computer no go fast.
No. Steve says, because I have a program. It's AutoCAD with a plugin, so it's not AutoCAD, but it's a program based on AutoCAD. And Steve goes, AutoCAD wants 2.5 gigahertz CPU. Looks like it would run most everything else. What the fuck does that mean? I don't even know what it has. Like, so I have to be like, yay or nay, English boys. Like yes or no. But that's where I'm at. So, but listen, 45 Auto says he's the only one still using 5.25-inch floppies. Man, I remember as a kid, Oregon Trail, green screen, the old school Apple computer there.
Old phosphorus monitors, yes.
My buddy used to have like a whole thing full of those floppy drives there. Remember that? It was amazing. The thing was
especially you go through CDs, go.
Listen, there's still a website that I go to sometime to play the old school Nintendo games. Like every once in a while, I'm at work and I'm like bored out of my tree, and I'm like,
I emulate all of those now. So
I was gonna say
I didn't bring this up, but I built one of those arcade cabinets and have the joysticks and the buttons and all that, and I have
nice.
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, actually, I use a full PC, so it'll do newer consoles. It'll do PlayStation 2 and it'll do Wii and all that stuff. But MAME is the emulator for arcade games, and that's the era I grew up in. So it even has a coin slot. I could toss a quarter in it and have the credits show up. And
I walked into his house, and I'm here to talk radios. When I'm next time I'm looking at it, and there's a video arcade. I'm like, dude, is this 1980 here? Pac-Man? He said, well, which game do you want to play?
And Don said, hold on, let me go get my quarters.
Oh my god!
They still develop software today. In fact, they update it pretty regularly. That front ends, all that stuff, and it makes the arcade cabinet more of an appliance than anything else. And I went as far as to get an LCD that fits in the marquee space, and I can actually, while you shift through the games and bring it up, the marquee changes to what game that is, just like in the art, uses the arcade art. So it's pretty slick, and I'm sure at this point it looks better than the games actually play. But anyway, am I boring yet?
But you can't play Duckhunt on that. So
Shacking Greg says he uses Microsoft Vista on a Dell. I have been running it for 18 years and it still rocks. No lie, the computer that I'm trying to replace is still Windows 7. Okay. It has been off the internet since 2012, because I do not want it to have issues. And it's all because the company that the program that we're running, they kind of screwed me over in 2012. And so I've been playing a game with them. So essentially we pay like $4,000 a year for like tech support and updates on this software. And in 2012, the distributor in my state or province says, we decided we're not giving out this year's update because we want to check it first. And meanwhile, the corporate office of the software says it's good to go. So you spend $4,000 in 2012, and they're like, well, we decided that we're not giving it. I'm like, who are you to decide you're not giving it? So then 2013 comes along. They're like, okay, here's your invoice for $4,000. I'm like, no. I said, you didn't give me last year's update. Why am I going to pay you for this year? Like, you robbed me a year, and I never called for tech support. So they were playing hardball. So I said, okay, no worries. So I just disconnected the Wi-Fi, and I haven't touched it since. Like, it's been like running the same computer forever. And then lately, the computer started acting up because once Windows 7, like it was, I started getting the blue screen saying no longer supported. Anyway, so we negotiated with them, and so we have to buy 2 new computers, and they're gonna give us the program and upgrade to 2021. So that's my long spiel about that. So
Scout,
there's no
hold on.
joke there's no joke with still running a 18-year-old software. It means that you're doing something with a purpose.
Scout, you might just be correct.
What did he say? I want to hear him. What did he say?
There's got to be an issue.
I find it hard to believe that there's something in Molson's house without issues.
Listen, hey, just remember, he took care of the cows. The cows were eating the flowers. He took care of the cows. You don't mess with
now
Molson.
they're not an issue anymore.
They're not an issue anymore.
Listen, you don't want to be an issue with me. But hey, man, Jeff, why don't you show us? You have a presentation you want to show us. I want to see that.
Yeah, it's more a bunch of pictures that
That's cool.
Semi-organized.
Show and tell.
So, all right. So before we get into that, there's a question that we ask all of our guests: what's your favorite band?
So, are we talking about music, or are we talking about?
He's the first one.
He's smart. He's a smarty.
Music would be dead even tie between Van Halen and Rush. Amateur radio, I don't, 20 or 40, whatever works in the car that night.
Very cool. See, he's the first one to say, well, what is it in reference to? All right, so we have pictures here. Here we go, pictures.
Can you see them? Okay, you can.
I can see them.
Let me.
Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier the radio that I had been carting around and keeping a hold of. This is that actual radio. This is a 1938 Emerson. I think the model is C138 or something like that.
Is that the kind that we used to sit around listening, to stories on?
Well, by
World
we
War
you
II.
mean your like great grandparents?
Like my grandparents, yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hey!
that is the kind.
Look, he is alive.
Shane. Shane, thank you. You didn't have to do that.
So
but
this
thank
is the radio that I began my my obsessive hobby over, and you could just ask my wife how obsessive I am over this hobby. So I'm going to sift through and kind of go in and out of order here as I see things. I'm just going to bring up things that are my favorite radios and
What's that vintage right there,
stuff
Jeff?
that's special of them.
What year is that?
Them.
What
The
year
one
is
I'm
that?
showing you right here, this is also 38, maybe a little older. So it's hard to keep track when you have hundreds of radios exactly what model and year things are, and I did say hundreds. This is a GE. It was built right in Bridgeport, and this one so the company I work for is based out of Jersey, and every so often I have to go down there. And while I was down there, I always checked the local marketplaces and Craigslist for deals. And I was at a customer, and I looked this up, and I found it, and I said to the customer, I have to go, I need to go a little bit early. There's an errand I need to run while I'm down here. And I actually went and picked this up while I was supposed to be working, but don't tell anybody. And
That's the wood on that is just gorgeous.
So most of the radios I have, I won't say all of them because there's a couple that I refinished, but wood is not my thing. Electronics, mechanics, things like that I'm good with. Wood, not so much. So any radio I have is more than likely has the original finish. So if I'm out shopping for a radio and I see one and the veneers peel off or whatever, I usually just
Jeff, let me just interrupt for a minute. Molson, Jeff sold me a radio. And so I basically became the third owner. Jeff was the second owner. It went back to 1939, and Jeff did a full restoration on it. And here he was. He was apologizing for some of the little nicks, and I said, no, leave it. It shows history. I didn't want anything so pristine. I don't mind a little nick, and I think other people may feel the same way as me. When you get something like this, a little ding here, a little dang there, it's all right, depending on where it is.
And you make a great point, Don. There's like a fine line of it looks too new when it's supposed to be an antique versus it looks like it was run over by a truck. So
Gives it character.
Yeah.
So this radio in particular was one I wanted, and here's why. Here's a close up of the dial scale. So GE No, it's not. So GE invented a process they call the Colorama. That was their marketing name for it. It literally uses just colored, tinted regular light bulbs, like a number 44 or 47
Okay.
that you'd find any 6-volt light bulb. And what happens is when you're tuned into a strong station, it turns green like that. But when you're on a weak station, it turns red like that.
Oh, cool.
Oh
So
wow.
it's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
neat. I may even have, I don't know if videos would work in here or how well that would work, but as you can see, as it's tuning, the camera, the camera on my phone kind of makes it pink sometimes, but you could see
That's
while
pretty
you're
cool.
tuning it around. Yeah.
Imagine
So-
if the
Jeff,
S meter, like the entire S meter on your screen, started doing that while you're tuning through the
Right.
I
bands.
was gonna say
Right.
the HF radio needs to do that.
Right.
Hey,
Right?
Jeff, I have a question. So if you go back to that picture there,
Which one?
the one that you were just on there with
The red, green.
Well,
or
no, go
the
to
radio?
the green one. Go to the
Okay.
the one to the right of that one. Okay. If you look on the left hand side, you got 550 to 600. The scale is very different than along further on, like where you look 1000 to 1100. The scale between the you see what I'm
Would
saying?
notice that.
So
Oh, yeah.
is there a specific reason for, say, the inside, the internals that is, or I would imagine that it's all mechanical. So right?
Yeah.
Like
So you've got your typical air gapped tuning capacitor and all of these. So yeah, my guess, and I've never really considered this, but my guess is it has to do with mechanical circular motion that the tuning capacitor makes. So
okay.
it could be how coils are wound inside here too.
Okay.
That kind of thing. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure how all the radios look in comparison to this one. I guess we'll see as I show some slides. It could just be a spacing of the numbers on the scale too. So
Yeah. Now, Joseph asked a question a little bit back. He says, when we're talking about these vintage radios, what are we talking about as far as for antennas? And the
That-
other thing is power supplies. Now, I have a vintage radio upstairs, so my power supply is just you plug it in 110, it has a built-in transformer.
Mhm.
So maybe you can enlighten us into that as we go along, or are there different technologies as far as for that's concerned, or different
Well,
ways?
I am going to show you some different stuff as we go along, but most of these radios you plug into the wall. They have power transformers, or at least the bigger ones. However, you do have to be kind of careful because back then our house power was rated at 112, anywhere from 112 to 117, and today we're seeing 120 and sometimes more than that. So some radio manufacturers use the smallest amount of iron they could to make their transformers, and they will get hot, and you don't want to run them for 24 hours. So you could do a couple of different things to rectify that. No pun intended. You could use a variac or a bucking transformer, both of which I do. And speaking of which, a lot of stuff I learn online is safety with this stuff. So as you know, tubes require some high voltage, and you don't want to just grab one of these from Facebook Marketplace or eBay or wherever, go home and plug it in, because it more than likely it will explode in your face. So we use a light bulb for current limiting. They call it dim bulb tester. I'm sure you've heard the phrase. We also like to use, by we I mean those in the hobby, of course, isolation transformers. So especially if we're using gear that's plugged into AC mains, to align it, we want to isolate this radio from the same power source that the test gear is on. So we isolate it with a 1-to-1 transformer.
Thank you, TC
Good.
Fitz.
Thank you. Thank you, TC Fitz.
Let me bring up something else, if you don't mind. I'll get into some
Pretty
of the
cool.
Look at the dials. The dials are so fascinating.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
That's-
you're going to learn really quickly here that I'm a Zenith guy. Zenith made, especially during their, what I like to call their sweet spot, 35, 36 to about 1941, 1942. So this Zenith, this is a 1938. This is a 1939.
So
This
these
is
are all
also a
AM
39
broadcast, right?
AM and shortwave. AM,
Yeah.
broadcast and shortwave. And the shortwave can
Okay.
vary radio to radio. Also another Zenith. All of these have what Zenith called robot dial, and we call in the hobby we just call it shutter dial. Now let me just grab a short video I had somewhere really quick that I can't find.
While
right
he's
this
quick, while he's doing that, I think we all got to put our mind in that our grandparents, great grandparents, this is how they got their news. There was no CNN, there was no local channels, TV channels. This was it, folks. This is where you got your local news, your World War II, and when World War II started, even pre-World War II, this is where everyone got their news.
Jeff, how'd you get our background in there? Go back up a little bit. How'd you get our one of our backgrounds in there? Scroll back up. Scroll back up. A little more. A little more. A little more. Those
Right
three.
there.
Those three.
three?
Those four, right there.
These
How'd you
four?
get our background?
That's my background.
That's Jeff's house,
Or
dude. You walk into Jeff's
no,
house.
I see what you're doing. I see.
Yeah, no, it looks exactly like one of the ones we've had in our backgrounds here.
So here's how I this is kind of how I display. I'd say this is about
Joe, get that
60% of my collection.
Hey,
Jeff,
Jeff.
tell them this is just one room now, guys.
Yeah,
This
it
is just one room. One
So
room.
Listen, I'll go to bat any day saying that the class and charm of the radios of the old days, it's unmatched today. Like there's so much beauty in that. That's gorgeous.
It really
I don't know.
So everything on the bottom is Zenith, and I have close-ups of them all if you're interested. But the stuff that's on the top shelves range from the 40s to the 60s, and in the 60s they started getting into that mid-century modern. You can see like this pink one here.
The plastic,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
they're plastic. Some of these are still Bakelite. There's plastic, and they use different types of plastics. But this is kind of the overview of how I have most of my radios displayed. Not all of them. I have radios in my bedroom too. My wife loves me for it. I'll show you some of those. So
hey, Jeff, serious question. Question.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna share the clubhouse some backdrop pictures that we can put on our live stream? Hey, we'll give you credit. We'll give you credit.
I'll send you pictures,
real quick. So we have another question here. Joseph asks again. How full are these cabinets? Like, is it like, are the cabinets, the floor cabinets, are they full of equipment, or is it just like a small section of the
It didn't
of the
occur
cabinet?
to me to take, you know what, let me see what I can do. It didn't occur to me to take a picture from the back, but this is a radio. This is a single radio, and I guess this is kind of good to go through, that I restored for a friend. He's a friend now. He was a stranger when I got the radio. You guys familiar with Ace Frehley at all?
absolutely.
I'm
Come on.
Ace Frehley is the original guitar player in the band Kiss.
Thank you.
He's currently on tour by himself, but the drummer is a local guy from Connecticut, and he caught wind that I restore antique radios and looked me up, and this was his radio I restored for him.
Oh wow!
Yeah, this is a Zenith 8S. I forgot. Oh yeah, 8S 563. So it's a 1942 or 41. At any rate, I think in here I have pictures of the cabinets, but this series of pictures gives you a good idea of what you're up against when you restore.
Wow.
That's brittle, man. That's brittle. Is that the right adjective, or?
Yeah, no, it's as brittle as eggshell. Ugh. So what happens is they used before. All right, so early in the 30s they used cloth to cover wires, and that was great.
Yeah,
because it holds up. Then they switched to rubber. Well, rubber's organic, and it just dry rots and deteriorates and becomes as brittle as an eggshell, and stuff like this happens. So you could see what happens there, and you kind of don't want to turn on a radio when the wires look like that. So this cluster of wires is actually for the tone controls in this particular radio. These two yellow wires are the pilot lamps for the dial. And some of these pictures are for reference, so I'll just skip over them. You could see here that the tuning capacitor, the rubber grommets that isolate it from the chassis, just as hard and brittle as anything else. So I actually
Freaking
removed
away.
it. Yeah, I removed the tuning capacitor. I actually put it in an ultrasonic cleaner and clean it, clean it till it's shiny. And I replaced the rubber grommets. You kind of have to. Again, that's a reference picture. More reference pictures.
So, real quick, I have to say to all of our podcast listeners, I apologize
Oh, yeah.
that you're
I didn't think
unable
of
to
that.
see these gorgeous, like internals that are here, like these gorgeous radios that we're seeing. What we'll try to do is see if we can actually, take some of the photos from either the YouTube stream, or if Jeff can send us a few, we might be able to like attach them or have some place where you'd guys be able to take a look at these, maybe even our Discord. But these are incredible. It's descriptive. It is a golden looking box with a bunch of wires sticking out the top, some monolithic capacitors.
That's how I So you mentioned that. So there's a coil in here. These are IF transformers, but the capacitors are usually left in place for show, literally, because we put the newer capacitors underneath. And I could probably show you that. The you can almost guarantee that every, not just the electrolytics, but every capacitor in these are bad. So just an example of the new wiring. Again, new wiring.
Yeah.
This is a flywheel and the rubber. So again, you have to get kind of creative when you're doing this. So this orange tip here was made of rubber, and it grabs a belt and it helps you flywheel tune the rig. What I did to fix that, if I can find it, is found a piece of hose like you would use for a gas line, and it's circumference.
That looks like radiator hose.
Yep, you just put it on a little bit. It's about the circumference of gas line. So you put it you put a little adhesive on there, cut it to size, and you've got a brand new piece of rubber to grip the belt.
Good idea.
So,
Ingenuity.
Yeah, you've got to get creative, and that's a bag of parts that I wanted to give back, but he didn't want it. We're getting back to putting it together with tube shields and the tuning capacitor on. You can see how nice and clean it looks now. This is some wiring pictures I was taking for reference. He wanted an auxiliary input wired into this because these don't typically have that. So you kind of interrupt the input from the RF section at the volume pop. So you just kind of ground the signal input from the unamplified signal input, and then you inject your signal there. And you could see in this picture, lots of dog bone resistors and just really old school stuff in here. Less the capacitors, right? So I mentioned the capacitors before. The smoothing electrolytic capacitors, you put them where they fit now, which is in this case right there. The one on top is completely disconnected from circuit and doesn't bother anybody anymore.
That is amazing. That those those capacitors, those little capacitors right there that you just put in, that they've made it from the 1960s.
From the 60s.
So.
And here are some, again, you get right down. So here's the cabinet, and I know I was asked about the cabinet. That's how I got down here. So the upper part of the cabinet usually holds the chassis and any glass or any way to view the dial, and the lower part of the chassis usually has a speaker, and sometimes, depending on the year, an antenna box. Again, I wish I had a picture of that, and I just didn't have it available. So here's a great example of a cabinet that was in good condition, that was made to look even better by simple off-the-shelf products. I'm not endorsing anybody. I don't know if I'm sure I can mention product names here, but
Old English.
Right. Howard's. Well, that's not unlike that. Howard's Restore Finish is really
pledge. A little bit of pledge.
Well, hold on. And this goes for, and I forgot to mention this. This goes for any antique furniture, not just radios. Start by using Gojo, the white hand cleaner that you would get at the automotive store. No pumice, nothing that'll do to scratch, just the white Gojo. And look at the stuff. Okay, here's a perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, view of
it. So this looks like you get the radio chassis in the top, and then you got a couple of holes to send the wires through for What's that? Like a 12-inch speaker in the bottom? 10-inch?
This 10 to 12 depends on the radio. So these
Dude.
shop cloths, this is what the Gojo removed from that cabinet.
Wow.
60,
I thought that was
70,
your earwax.
60, 70, 80 years of nicotine, because let's face it, everybody smoked back then.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You know, it looks like he changed the oil with that. That's what
Right.
that is.
And the Gojo removes that. The Howard's restores the finish, and then I use Howard's what's called feed and wax, which is like a beeswax mix.
Yeah.
And it brings the shine right back, and you know the wood's thirsty, and it takes it in.
Jeff, the RCA that I picked from you had an antenna in the bottom. Was that unique?
No. So this one has an antenna too, and that was a question that was asked earlier. Sorry, I missed that. Depending on the radio, is what antenna we'll use. So an antenna, a radio like this one had a box in that lower cabinet part of the cabinet you saw that you could rotate, because remember these all used loop antennas back then, and loop antennas are directional. So they gave you the ability to rotate it, and not quite 360, and not quite 180 either, somewhere between almost all the way around. And radios that didn't have that, you literally had to connect your own antenna, whether it was just a long wire or if it was something you'd buy at the store where you'd have to string from tree to tree. If you were smart, you could build a beverage. Those work really well. But even for radios I have that don't have an antenna box inside, I just have a long wire. It goes out my door and just runs into the woods. What's interesting to know about the box I was telling you about, and I don't believe I have a picture handy. Nope, not this one. They literally had marketing names. Each company had a marketing name for their antennas. So Zenith's was Wave Magnet. GE called their antennas the Beamoscope, and so forth and so on. So
Nice.
there was tons of them.
Very original names.
Yes. So I got some weird pictures in there. That you
Hold
want
on. What was that?
Wait, hold on, Jeff. Back it up. You're not getting any
You guys
easy,
warned me,
man.
so I clicked off quick. Okay.
You're in the clubhouse. Hang on, you're in the clubhouse
Let me
now.
go back to the radio.
So these here, like just looking at like the finish that of the radio, like afterwards, right?
Mhm.
What do you have any like before and after of the cabinet itself? Because
Again,
looking
not
at the
readily available. So
Hey, I'm just throwing it
yeah,
out there if you did.
I
And the other
do.
question was, a lot of the grommets and stuff, are they readily available things? Like you get them off of Mauser or DigiKey, or do you have to actually build them?
They're not specific to these radios, but they are just regular good old rubber grommets. Believe it or not, I get them from Amazon. I just look up a grommet kit. I usually only end up using one or two sections in the entire kit because the others won't work. But back then we used standard hole sizings. Everything is done with 1/4 inch and 5/8 nuts and things like that. So use the standard size holes to put the grommets in, and if they don't fit perfect, they still work well enough, and anything is better than what was there. So here, let me show you this one real quick because this is a neat radio too. And Don, I know I've told you this story.
Yes.
This
The
is
eye. Look at the eye.
Well, yeah, this is one of many that has an eye tube, but this radio is by Motorola, the same Motorola that makes the handheld walkie-talkies that you guys use today.
Batwing.
This is
Well,
was made in 1941, and this particular radio was one of the first to have FM, and it is so old as far as FM that it doesn't even have what we know as FM today. FM when it first came out was somewhere between, it says it right here, 44 and 50 megahertz. That's where the original FM was before they changed it to 88 through 108. So that band, and to have more than one radio that has it, is absolutely useless. I think old cordless telephones were in that band for a while, but that's about it. This radio has 18 tubes. It's my highest tube count radio to date. And back then, the more tubes you had, the more expensive your radio was. It's literally how they marketed radios, is by their tube count. Well, this radio has 10 tubes. Well, this has 12. It got so bad to the point where they would literally radios that could work on 6 tubes. They separated the function of a tube, because some tubes have, were pentodes and can do multiple things at the same time. They split that. They literally like took 2 6SJ7s and made them do different things just to get the tube count up. So,
Oh, you
marketing,
have 5 tubes? Well, we have 6.
Yeah,
Well, we made 7.
So we talk about how
Oh.
things were back then, and how don't get me wrong, things were awesome back then. Things were better built, but there were still marketing games, and some of these old radios still have cardboard in them, like radios do things have today.
Yeah.
Story behind this radio is it was family owned. I bought it from the guy's uncle. He handed me, along with the radio, the original sales receipt.
Oh,
This
Nice.
radio was purchased December 10th, 1941.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
Oh.
December 10th, 1941. And I still have so obviously that's 3 days after what happened in Pearl Harbor.
Absolutely.
So obviously this radio was bought for the family because they knew a war was coming.
No, Scout.
I missed it.
Scott turns around because kind of like how minivans are priced by cup holders.
Sort of, kind of, in a way. Here's another interesting radio. This one is another Zenith. They lovingly call it the Spinette because it resembles a Spinette piano. It kind of, as you can tell, leans back more than the others. And my wife loves this radio. I don't. I would like to not have it in here because it's wide. It takes up more room. But this is one of the first Zeniths that has the same FM. Yes,
Jeff, part of marriage is compromise. Now we saw how many radios you have in all your room. This is called a compromise, right?
Yeah.
He still has
when Sandy says she wants it, what do? Yes, dear.
So here's the thing. This one here, right? Yeah, it does look like a small piano, like almost a harpsichord.
Different
size.
design, very, very different design.
But I'm looking at this, and this looks like it's the precursor to the viewport that they used to have on top of. Remember the original? Oh my gosh, my brain is blank here.
Oh, the radar, the radar scope thing there or whatever.
no,
That's
the
the
motion
radar
pictures.
scope. Motion pictures. When motion pictures, you had to have the little scoop that you were looking at. That's what that looks like there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Your snack that was only certain films, certain theaters.
I was just going to say, where in New York
Nickelodeon.
City?
Okay, hold
Listen,
on.
just
Stop
'cause it
right
was
there.
sticky from
Stop,
the
right,
last
stop, Jeff. From the next picture, the next picture plus 7. Those are the ones we need.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
If you really want them, I'll send them. That's not a problem.
Send them over to Izzo. So
Okay.
I have a couple of technical questions, just to get an idea. Maybe we can let's go to just us on the screen there for a little while.
Sure.
A couple questions about how you approach this. So, did you initially learn how each component worked and how it worked together, or were you literally taking a part out and be like, well, that's wire, 12 gauge, because I would imagine to some degree you could take that approach and you find a capacitor, you figure out what it is, you replace it. But how did you evolve from just kind of like what we say in French, a débrouillard? It's like a MacGyver of it. I would imagine to some degree that's how we all start. And then you learn.
Are you
and you
talking
learn
about
and you learn.
rigging?
No, but so how did you
MacGyvering.
how did you go from where it started, where you just I'll fix one radio, to today? Did you know it all at first? Did you make mistakes? Did you just find components that matched? How did you do it?
Great question. And yes to all of those. I never took any real formal electronics training, except maybe in high school, mid 80s. I think we built an AM radio in electronics class on a breadboard and then on a PC board. And, that was during high school. I had other things on my mind back then. So, being an amateur radio operator, I think we're all always kind of sort of interested in electronics, right? I mean, I don't know if I could speak for all of you, but I think we all kind of know how to read a schematic even a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. So, it started that way. YouTube was really, really instrumental on getting me better acclimated with what I need to look at specifically with these radios. And again, I could sit here and rattle off 2 or 3 channels that were very good at that. In fact, there's a guy in Canada that's
Mr.
Carlson.
Carlson's Lab.
Mr. Carlson's Lab, yes.
Freaking amazing.
If you're not watching Mr. Carlson's Lab, first of all, there's this like, hi, welcome to Mr. Carlson's Lab.
Welcome to another episode.
Yeah, number one, the guy is so like monotone, like very like soothing to listen to for his 45-minute video, and like it's just mind blowing. Like, and he says all this stuff you think you're learning, then you realize what the hell did I just watch? You know.
Hey, for those of you who don't know, that calms Molson down. That just takes Molson, that brings him down.
At any rate,
keep going.
Yeah. So this started as, and again, you'll read a lot. There's amateur radio forums. There's all types of stuff out there. You'll read a lot. When you get a new radio home, bring it up slowly on your Variac and have a bulb limited current limiting bulb in there, and that's all true. And replace the capacitors. That's always number one, and it's actually a joke sometimes in the community. Did you replace all the capacitors? The short answer is you have to. These capacitors are from the 1930s and 40s. They're made of paper and wax. What happens to an old newspaper when it's exposed to air? It yellows, it dries, it crumbles. These capacitors get very leaky. They just stop working. So you kind of have to assume that you're going to replace all of the capacitors. But not every radio repair ends there, right? A lot of the times, or maybe half of the time, you can replace all the capacitors, check the values of the resistors and make sure they didn't drift. Old carbon resistors and those dog bones have a tendency to drift out of tolerance. And you can get away with doing that. But a lot of the times there's other serious problems. There's usually a reason why the radio ended up on the shelf in a junk pile, right? So I've run into open coils. Those are fun to troubleshoot. Open output transformers. I did one of those recently. I had a power transformer that was fried. That's kind of almost the kiss of death, because you can't find the power transformers that were made specifically for these radios anymore. Unless you get lucky. And in this case, speaking of a business trip, I took a trip to Buffalo, New York about half a year ago. Looked in the paper, found a radio I liked, and drove home with it. Took it home, put it on the bench. The high voltage was shot out of the power transformer. Facebook came to the rescue. I said, yeah, put it out there. Got this radio. It's got a bad transformer. Somebody chimed in and said, oh, I've got a spare one of those. I'm like, you got to be kidding. It's literally the same transformers from the same radio. So I was able to save the radio and make it work, and that's great. And I didn't take a picture of it either.
Hey, Jeff, let me just tell everybody, Scout before made the comment about the minivan. Jeff does not drive a Mini Cooper. There's a reason when this man goes on his business trips and he has his van, because sometimes things just happen to fall into the van, and now he's got to bring it home. You got to have space.
I bought a mini. I do not have small children, but I do own a Dodge Caravan, and that was because of my band gear, right? So besides playing the bass guitar, I carry around all my PA gear, so I needed the space. So that's
fold flat seats.
Yes, those are the best.
Are these vintage radios like typically very expensive, or do you get them like for like $1? Like
another good question. Yes to both. Once again, the old saying, and it applies for more things than just this, but you hear it a lot in the community, is somebody will join a group and post a picture of an old radio and go, "What's it worth?" And the answer is, it's worth whatever someone will pay for it. Yeah. It sounds like it's a wise ass answer, but it makes perfect sense. If there's an antique out there that looks good to me and I want it enough, I'll pay what I need to pay for it. So they range, and some radios are more desirable than other. The Zeniths with the shutter dials that I was showing you, people want those more. They're more fancy. They're more usually in higher demand. And then there are some radios people can care less about, and you can get them for $20 or $30. The best place to go are all these shows they have in New England. They have the amateurs also, but vintage radio swap meets, and you can go home with a whole lot of deals at those things.
See, my problem was, I think those, honestly, those radios are gorgeous. Like I see those things, I'm like, man, I'd buy every one of them. The problem is that I would struggle with the idea of, number one, is it worth fixing? Because, well, am I going to plug it in and listen to the radio? And number two is, do I have the ability? So my solution would be to buy it, clean it up, and just put a strip of LED in there so that it looks like it's on, but it's not on. Like, I don't know, but I'd really like to try it. And I know that there's like this, like not a thrift store, but it's like an auction antique store. And I've seen radios in there. The problem is that there's so many that look, at first their impression when you see them is like, oh, that's an old radio. And then they look like a modern knockoff of an old radio. Like, I don't know if that was a thing like 20 years ago or 15 years ago.
It was, and there are, and we'll see those out there a lot. I forgot who makes them.
With a cassette,
Thomas is a great
with a cassette player.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Come on.
So you'll see what looks like a cathedral radio, and then it'll be, you'll see a cassette sticking out the side of it. So you kind of know. Yeah. If somebody says it's an antique radio and you turn it around and it says UL listed, it's not an antique radio. Yeah. Or if it says AM FM. And there's a lot of those out there. In fact, some of them even use the Crosley name, because Crosley was an antique radio company, and they still use the name on stuff today. You could buy Crosley turntables today.
Now, despite those being in a wood, most of those being in a wood box, I imagine that they still have the issue with the possibility of charging the chassis, right? Because like I know that my Helicraft upstairs, that you can plug it in both ways because it doesn't have the blade that's wider, and you can literally charge up the whole chassis if you don't plug it in properly. Is that the same thing with those? Like, that's pretty much any radio of those eras was like, you gotta be careful how you plug it in.
Not all of them. So the bigger radios that I showed you, they have transformers. Any set that has a transformer offers you the isolation that you're talking about. Okay. Somebody along the way invented what they call the string set, or the All-American 5. And what they have is a series of tubes that goes straight from the AC through the tubes, and the tube filaments count up to 115, 117 volts. Those are hot chassis sets. So to answer your question, yes, if you flip the plug in one way and the radio's on and you're grounded the right way, you will get a zap off the chassis. And if you flip the plug the other way, you'll get a zap off the chassis when it's off. But there are a ton of All-American 5s. Pretty much every set you saw on my shelf there, those are all All-American 5s with hot chassis sets. And there are ways to circumvent that. I kind of like to leave things original, so I just know better. Don't touch the chassis.
That's awesome.
And that's, they're built with, obviously they were built in a way where they were built at the time when they knew this was a thing, right? So they took care to make sure that people weren't touching bare metal on the radio. So,
Jeff, can you see some of the questions down there in the
I can, if I was paying attention.
All right. So you've spent all your money on antique radio, so it's okay. You can't afford it. A couple things. We have a question. Do you have any? What is it? Atwater Kents?
Yeah, that's a brand of antique radio, and I do have one. I have not restored it. It was actually one of the first ones I bought. It's called a 35, an Atwater Kent 35, and it's literally like a rectangle metal can. It's got 5 tubes. And it runs on, this was before they actually had AC powered radios. So before you can plug them into the wall, you had to buy a set of batteries, not just a battery, but a set of batteries to supply filament voltage, plate voltage, and other types of voltage. And I can actually show you some of that. So you had A, B, and C batteries.
Wow.
And, yep. So I have an Atwater Kent 35 that I did not restore yet.
Oh, hang on. TC Fitz, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A question popped up on the screen, which is a good one. There's no asbestos in the wiring, but some radios, usually the ones with smaller cabinets, actually use a shield of asbestos to protect heat from discoloring or warping the cabinet. How we handle that is we hold our breath the entire time we're working. No, um, the way to handle that is
He grabs it with both hands,
there's a
smashes it in
couple.
his face,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
walks away.
yeah. There's a couple ways to handle it. People say leave it alone. What I'll typically do is seal it, shellac, something to just keep the fibers from coming loose, and or put on something over my face. Rip it out of there, put it in a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Hazmat.
So, and yeah, the idea is to avoid the fibers that it can create. So, by sealing it, you get that effect. I have not
then-
restored a transmitter. I do have one. I have a Hallicrafters HF transmitter that I did not restore yet, but I
glad
would
you
like
asked
to. That's next.
So I had a friend that purchased a house, and when he was cleaning it out, he found an old Collins receiver. And of course, he calls me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." So we agreed on a price, and I brought it home and had it for a while. And I was thinking, hey, some rubbing alcohol, clean some of this stuff up. I've got me an antique receiver, right? Then I turned it over and looked at the bottom of it, and you're talking about all those capacitors and dog bones, and I was like, yeah, maybe later. And I just kept pushing off to the side, and I eventually moved it out to another shed. And so anyway, before we left to go to Huntsville to the Ham Fest, I found a dad and his two sons that were homeschooled, and they were really into ham radio. And so I passed it on to them for like $40 and put all that into the grand prize drawings that didn't work out at Huntsville. But this episode reminded me I need to get back in contact with them to see if they've made any progress on restoring that thing.
Yeah, and if he was doing it with his kids, it sounded like then yeah, it's a great thing to pass along for sure.
And so the question was, do you restore any transmitters like Collins or Halleck or anything like that, or just the receivers, just the antique, the AM radios? And is there any particular reason you like this era of gear, the 30s, from the 30s into like the 60s, 70s with regards to all these radios?
Also, it's making me hungry.
Come on in there, Dan.
I would like them because they look nice. They just look nice. They've got character just in the looks of them.
Tubes is what got me going on it. Is what got me started on that era. Call it a fascination. To this day, I still watch videos on how the vacuum tube works, and I understand the concept now and all that, but just somebody had to think of that from scratch, right? It's just amazing to me that you control the flow of electrons by heating an element and how much voltage you will apply to the grid is how much electrons that'll hit the plate and so forth and so on. I'm getting into audio amplifiers now too. Hand building an audio amplifier from scratch, and I'm watching some videos on that. I bought in fact, I took a picture of it because I like it, but I bought a Chinese-made all-tube audio amplifier and did some mods on it that I found on YouTube, of course, and it works great. But I want to build something from scratch now.
Hold on, everybody. Scout 75. Thank you, brother. Look at that. Thank you.
Beer.
Did you read
Will you buy me a beer with your beer?
Did you read the caption down? It says, "No need for a shout out. Just keep doing what you're doing." There's no reason for a shout. Listen, I don't care. It pops up above my head. It's going full screen, and we're gonna say thank you. Number one. Number two. So these full tubes. Yes. All right. So for our out of the United States and other areas of the world, when we say tube, we call them you call them valves. Valves, VALVES, and I know I'm pronouncing it bad. It's the valve, man. So yes, the tubes, the valves, yes, they are very interesting. And yes, okay, so now I've got a question. How warm and how much glow do these radios give off for you, just from the tubes alone?
It depends on the tube. So rectifier tubes and output tubes usually get hot where they will give you second-degree burns. RF tubes don't get as hot. from the receive side, but anything that's got a lot of electrons flowing is going to get warm. Depending on the radio, how close a tube is to the cabinet it's in, you can put your hand on top of it and say ouch. It'll get pretty warm. And again, that's why some of these radios had that heat shield in there. They had the asbestos heat shield, and from there, sometimes they used tinfoil or whatever it was. But they definitely did that. And I got a lot of radios that have a discoloration spot where those output and rectifier
Good point.
tubes
That's
are.
right. Good point.
And it always never ceased to amaze me why they would put both hot tubes next to each other, which you find a lot. The rectifier right next to the output tube, and it's like that's where all your heat is. Why would you not want to spread that out?
Shortest distance between 2 points.
Right.
It's
funny you say that because they usually do need to be close together circuit-wise. So.
Beer snack. I will tell you when you talk about the ambience of having one of these radios in your house.
Why, Don, do you remember sitting on the ground listening to the sign off at night?
Yes, I do.
He was listening to Fireside Chats from
Fireside Chats. There you go.
Fireside Chats. No, I'm not that old. But I will tell you, like on mine, I could pipe in through Bluetooth, and then I run. But like, especially like, I run my radio once a week. I always do it on my day off. I start my day. There's a local AM radio station here, about 5-10 miles away, just to warm it up, play it around. But I will tell you, at Christmas time is very special to me for a lot of reasons. It's a nice time for me to reflect, for people who have helped me throughout the year, people who maybe I have helped, and I hope that they're doing well with health, prosperity, and spiritually. But I will tell you, there's nothing more what I find peaceful and very content when I'm sitting in the room, whether it's my family or a lot of people, and you got some vintage 1940s Christmas music playing. On Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or whatever through that time period, and you got the Christmas tree and over there, and and the wife is looking at me, and just she'll blow me a kiss, maybe. It's the little things in life, and this radio just adds to that.
I'll tell you right now, there is nothing better than hearing Bing Crosby's warm voice.
Yeah,
Christmas carols on one of these old radios,
or some Tommy Dorsey, it's actually opened me up. Jeff actually opened me up to a lot of 40s vintage jazz that I used to play when I was in 7th and 8th grade. Some stuff like I never wanted to play, but the music teacher wanted us to learn it. Now I'm gravitating towards it. And it's cool, man. I mean, those jazz players and my father-in-law is a jazz player from that era, from the 50s. And he's 84 years old, and the man can play a mean saxophone and a clarinet and everything. But again, these radios bring out a different side of radio for us in so many different ways.
Well, I guess it's the same reason that guys still use AM mode, like the AM mode. Because of the tones that are there that don't exist in any other mode that are out there.
And now, I love hearing those guys. I can pick them up on a lot of my shortwave because these radios obviously don't have sideband, so I can hear the sideband mumble on AM. But the guys that are actually on AM, I pick them up and they sound terrific.
75 meter AM is like all of a sudden you're tuning the dial like wow, holy Christ!
They sound
they sound great.
Ain't nothing like listening to a colonoscopy on an antique radio. There was another question that scrolled past us a little bit ago. Have you built a tube clock? I know Steve has. All right.
So you're talking about a Nixie tube clock? I would love to build one of those, and it's always in the back of my mind. But have you priced a Nixie tube lately?
That set actually wasn't bad. I just built that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So they're hard to, they're only made in Russia now, I believe, Nixie tubes, and that's actually between China and Russia are where all brand new vacuum tubes come from. There are no the States anymore.
One of my favorite.
Scout, you're right. I'm sorry, guys.
One of my favorite things to listen to on Sirius is the Ham Radio. No, not Ham Radio. Classic Radio.
We're on Sirius too. Oh my God, we've been worldwide.
So
no. Sirius, the classic radio shows, like the old mystery murder ones.
Yeah.
Those I would drive for like.
radios.
I would drive like 6-7 hours just listening to that because there's so. First of all, the storylines are like we're going off on radios here, but the storylines are just fantastic. The settings, the way they set the whole scene, like they knew how to create the plot and the scene and everything like that. And then you have to remember all these sound effects were done by like, you know, shoes tapping on wood planks, and there's just such a whole like. There's such a whole, I don't know what it is. It's just like this amazing, I don't know. It's just so awesome. And I have a question for Andy Cowley. He says the best way to listen to Coast. Are you talking about the George Norrie Coast to Coast show? I've never listened to him on those on old classic radio. But I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's almost like in my mind, when I see those radios, when I hear the old shows, the old movies, it's like almost like you sort of like imagine what life was like. And that's how good they were at creating a storyline, was to go back. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like when you listen, like you read a book about World War II or World War I, and it almost brings you there. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing when you see that radio. Like you were saying, you know, they used to smoke in the house, you know, the old couches and the whole family set up. And I don't know, there's something, it's nostalgia. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know, longing for simplicity and a life that we don't know. You know, I don't know. It's crazy.
I will say this. So you're talking about radio classics on Sirius. I subscribe as well, and I use them a lot, and I'll tell you why. I believe in playing music of the era for which the decade for which the radio was built. So I'll play 30s and 40s music on my 30s and 40s radios. If you saw one of those, you know, 1950s and 60s radios, I'll go to 60s on 6 or whatever the channel is and play that era of music on that radio. Those radios were built for that era of music. It's the music that sounds best on them. You know, I don't.
Would you do that with?
I don't try to play Van Halen on a 1941 Zenith.
No.
It just doesn't sound right.
But do you have like an AM transmitter at the house that you'll run it through, and then you'll pretty much broadcast it to all your radios.
Yep.
And then you can just pick it up. That's so cool. Cool.
There's a company.
And they're not expensive.
The one I use is by a company that made an AM transmitter called Talking House, and it was actually made for real estate agents. It has a little voice recorder in it. You record, this house has 6 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms and blah blah blah. I flipped that, but and then you put a sign out on the lawn that says, you know, tune 560 AM and to hear about this house. Well, it has an input jack, and what I do is I take one of my Amazon Echoes and I put the output to it, and I tell what's her name? I don't want to say her name because she'll light up, but I tell her to play. I tell her to play one of my Sirius stations, and it just pumps it right into the transmitter. And,
that's so awesome.
Yeah, and it works.
So
well.
I wonder what she would sound like in that 1941 Zenith that you had.
Well, I've done that, and you know, it sounds okay. I call it having a smart antique radio.
So, Jeff, I have to congratulate you. This is the longest that we've ever stayed on topic. Like,
is it
for real?
Yes,
we haven't had a squirrel. There has not. You're right. There has not been.
I didn't even get to like show you my bass guitars and stuff, because that's the other thing I love.
Go into it right now, brother. Go.
I want to see pictures of his shack. Do you have pictures of your shack?
My shack is unassuming. It's I don't have a picture of it. I have a small.
There's a radio. Here, wait, Daniel, close your eyes. You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Picture this. There's a desk, and on that desk is a radio with a microphone. And coming off the back of the radio, there's a power cord and an antenna.
I'm looking at it from here. It's got two. I have two monitors.
Test gear.
Now let me tell you about the antenna. He had a bent antenna for the longest time outside in the backyard.
Whoa!
Yes.
No, I don't need to know about his.
And every time I drove by the house, every once in a while I used to call him saying, "We're gonna come to your house in the middle of the night. We're gonna straighten that antenna up."
We had a blizzard, and it was a pretty prevailing wind, and it took my antenna mast, and it literally turned it into the letter C, and I had to leave it like that for a while. It was the winter.
Yeah.
So
listen, Jeff, that's nothing. Dwayne's hardened to the left. It curves left. So don't worry about it.
Oh my god.
So I have.
If you guys,
I have an
you
HF
guys don't know
antenna.
what that is.
I have an HF antenna on the roof.
Mike, save us, Mike. Thank you.
It's connected to my SDR right now. I have an RS Play, what is it, RSP1, and I have that connected up, and that's another thing I love doing when I'm not listening to the AM radio. I'll SWL with the SDR. A lot of fun, actually.
So if anybody doesn't know, Dwayne, Whiskey for Fox Delta Tango, he is Wolf River Coil. He hammed too hard. It melted the PVC, and it is the coil is permanently, curved to the left. So he's getting a replacement part from Wolf River Coil. And so, Dwayne, thanks for sharing those pictures. Because one of the things that we don't do in ham radio often is show our defeats or our failures. And I wouldn't say that's a mic fail, but that's honestly how many times do we do a video and retake it because shit, I fucked up. So
there's a reason that I put my the first couple of videos I did, I put my bloopers at the end. So you stay long enough, you get the closeout scene, and then you come back to me. What the first one I did. I'm sitting there trying to record, film. I finally got frustrated with it. I turned around and said, "You know what I think of this? It sucks." And that is what is at the end of my first video, that outtake, because you gotta have what
fun.
Curse it out. Curse it out. Fun. So
one of
I'm done.
Go.
I'm done.
It's okay.
I'm done.
Do it.
I'm just blabbing along, man.
So
just
one of the things that I've been thinking about lately, so I've been playing with a Jeff. I've been playing with a receive antenna. Actually, I have two up right now, and I was watching the guys on Coffee and Ham Radio about their SDR. They were talking about just shortwave listening, some of that, and I was like, that's something I need to get back to. I want to just kind of see, especially with the receive antenna, low noise, and you're talking about the AM guys and stuff. And that's something that I haven't really in the last year been focused on. And I'd really like to just do that just to see what's out there and hear. And I don't know. I guess that's also another kind of nostalgia thing too, because that used to be a bigger thing back in the day. Shortwave
it really was. And I have more pictures to show you if you want to see them that are, I didn't even get into all my battery sets. I have, you ever hear of the Zenith Transoceanic? I have a whole bunch of those, and they have a history in and of themselves. I don't know how much time we have. Apparently, I can talk about this for a real long time.
Well, I don't know if there's anything after us,
I think we're going to have you come back too.
Jeff.
Yeah.
We'll have you come back.
Oh, okay.
You can always come back. We have no problem saying, "Hey Jeff, what are you doing? You want to come on? You want to talk more about the radios? You want to talk about your guitars? Do you want to talk about this? You want to talk about that? What do you want to talk about? You'll come and hang out with us. That's what it is. And you know what?
Hey,
it's not you hanging out with us. It's us hanging out with you tonight.
Hey, Beer Snack. You know what we should do? You know what we should do right now?
What should you do?
All of us. I make a motion that we bring him into the clubhouse as a member.
I'll second that.
I second the motion.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jeff.
Opposed? That guy.
I feel honored and
always here.
Damn it. I've been waiting for somebody to say, I don't want to be part of your damn club. So I thought if anybody had it was you,
you
Jeff.
need to have you need to have a much bigger jerk than I am on your show.
So real quick, Don finally got here. Our technical guy finally got here. He's talking a couple things. He's late because he was at work. Yeah. Excuses. He was talking. There's a QST article years ago about the AMers, and yes, Don, yes, they are a completely different breed of ham, and the gear that they have. Period. For what they have. But also, he was talking about he found a number station today. A number station on 11468.
Yeah, it was probably the one out of Cuba. It had a probably female speaking numbers in Spanish, and then some digital noise, and then repeat.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. It was numbers followed by data. He said it was Spanish in Discord.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty much the one left. There's actually a name for it, and the name escapes me right now. I have recordings of it because I've caught it too. And it's actually pretty neat to catch. But in the old days when there was espionage and spies
that
on
one?
all the agents. I wish
I thought Russia's number station was still going.
if it is, it's not something I hear from here.
Because I do know
Somebody
that
posted on something 11 megahertz. They was listening to one yesterday or the day before. I seen.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a list somewhere of like all of the stations and everything of what it is. Oh, we got a beer.
Oh, brother Dwayne.
Hey, Dwayne.
Brother Dwayne.
Thank you, man.
It's curved into the left too. I saw that.
Going to the right. Yeah, no. There's a movie with John Cusack about number station.
Because of the name of the movie, I watched it and it was disappointing. But I did watch it. I did see it.
I would love to really get into if there's ever a specialist out there about this whole number station thing. Like, are they still really using it? If it is what they say it is, or is it just all like a psyops, like just to fool everybody and like?
All right. So from long before, it was actually being used to transmit one-time use codes, one-time use information. All right. Now I think it's more of a novelty than anything else. That that's just hearing the numbers, hearing that it's more of a novelty than anything else.
That's how I send out the announcement. That's how I send out the announcement for everybody to come to the clubhouse on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time, as well as don't forget to watch us or listen to us on the podcast.
Watch us on the podcast and listen to us on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's a concept.
It is.
Yeah, well, wouldn't it be so funny if we find out in like 10 years that they were still coordinating nonsense in 2021 when we thought it was a joke? Like really, it could be used today. It would be nothing to like. It's like the Navajo code, the code breaker, or the Navajo code talkers back in World War II. You make up a language out of thin air. It's not a made up language, but it's something that's not
4, 2, 5.
It's pretty much unbreakable.
3, 8, 9.
There's some great YouTubes. If you search the subject on YouTube, you'll hear some recordings of some great ones, and they all had nicknames. And some of them would just play like weird music. Some of them would play some backwards stuff. They were really creepy, and I think that was the attraction way back when was just how creepy they were.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. It'd be really
1, 4, 1, 5, 9.
No, but even what type of station setup is it? Like, what is it? Where's the antenna? Where's it coming from? Has anybody ever tried to I know Ham Radio Crash Course, when they were doing the jamming in Cuba, he used those SDRs, the Kiwi SDR and all that. And he narrowed into it. I wonder, almost like a fox hunt. That would be so cool to do that. Like the next time there's like a number station, where exactly is it? Like what block is it coming from? What does the station look like? What kind of power are they putting out? Like, even if it is a joke, where the hell, who's doing it? That would be cool to find out.
Nowadays, with all the SDRs, with all of that information being piped in, it would be easier to find it. But back in Cold War days, it was RDF with I got a giant antenna trying to figure out where it's coming from, and everybody has to do.
Just look up the Russian woodpecker.
Mm-hmm.
And they do move every few days. It's like the Russian ICBM transport vehicles. They'd set up here, they'd wait a few days, move over here, move over here, move over here. So it's not going to be in the same location, twice in the same 30-day period. So, speaking of numbers stations, we have numbers Whiskey 2 HRC 1, Whiskey 2 HRC, /4, /5, VA3, VE3, maybe if they separate. This weekend, we're going to transition out of it. Jeff, thanks, man. Everything's amazing. All right, we're just going to transfer. We're going to take a quick break and a little commercial break here for a second.
Sure.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me. My brain has been going and going and going. So, it's squirrel time for me. There's a couple things going on this weekend. The big one is you have Support Your Parks weekend for the fall event. It is from 00 to 23:59 on the 18th. Gotta verify that date. My brain is fried. On the 17th.
Friday night.
Yeah,
Starts Friday night.
Is it Friday night?
Friday
Friday night and
night.
Sunday? So it's 2 days. So the 16th and 17th, 2 nights. All right, we are running the club call. We're gonna have some fun with this. You know, it's just for bragging rights this time. There's no plaques involved, so we're not pushing it as hard. So that's number
fun.
one. That's number one. And Scout, there's a reason I said you I have a question for you later. I'm gonna send you a message in Discord. That there, your pop quiz is over. Second, scouting event, big scouting event this weekend. Jamboree on the air and Jamboree on the internet. Okay. If you hear any kids calling CQ JOTA, CQ Jota, please jump in and say hi. These kids are all over the country and all over the world hanging out and learning about radio. I do know that there's a JOTA station that is probably about an hour northwest of me that I might be going to hang out at for a little bit. And there's a state park in Pennsylvania right there too. But I'm probably going to go hang out there for a bit and say hi and see how everybody's doing there. But JOTA, really big event for scouts. And it is all weekend long. And like I said, guys, keep an ear out. Yeah, that's right, Don. Even a POTA, even as a POTA, if you hear them, jump on them.
Not only Beer Stack, also
I don't know if they're doing any spotting, but keep an ear out.
Let's just throw this in with the Jota Jamboree on the air with the scouts. The young kids, this may be the first time they're being introduced to something that we do all the time, ham radio. Let's be good ambassadors. Let's be very good ambassadors. Let's be the gentlemen and the ladies of who we truly are. We like to have fun here, but on the radio, let's just make sure that we're good ambassadors. They may stumble a little bit. Let's help them when it's appropriate and encourage them, because who knows, maybe 10, 20, 30 years from now, they could be, hey, I remember doing that. And all of a sudden now they're getting their ticket. Now they're getting, let's not turn them away. Let's introduce them with the hopes that maybe they'll become ham radio operators someday themselves or into shortwave, whatever. They're still playing radio and they're having fun.
So my plan is to go out for the Support Your Parks. So Joseph V3GKT and I were talking about getting together, activating separately. He's going to stick around his area, which is near Toronto, and I'm going to go around my area, Ottawa. And I figure I'm going to do the most redneck nonsense setup I can. I'm literally, because what am I going to do?
Canadians have rednecks?
Listen, but seriously, like I'm taking a car.
Maple color.
I'm taking I'm taking a car battery. Okay, I'm taking an old school IC725 with the Versatuner. I'm gonna make myself an NFED. No, wait, hold on.
That is a normal thing.
I gotta hang this. I gotta hang this NFED half-wave antenna. So I'm bringing a fishing rod with like a 1 pound weight on the end, and I'm literally gonna try and cast it into the tree because I don't know. Otherwise, I gotta make a potato cannon by the end of the weekend, which is not gonna happen.
I still fail to see how this is redneck. This is a normal activation for me.
Really?
This is a normal activation.
And I told Joseph, I said, I'm going to bring my screen tent, a barbecue, steaks. I'm going to bring like everything, a table, chair. I ain't messing around, man. I'm going to have a level of luxury like none other. And I'm like
beer.
Cooler with beer. I might have to bring a sleeping bag in case I consume a little bit too much, but I'm gonna make it. It's gonna be a shindig. It's gonna happen.
All right, there it is. There's the redneck party. Called it a shindig. There you go.
Yeah. We're gonna be talking on the radio, boys. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I didn't decide what park yet, but it's happening. And if you are going out, you can run a Whiskey 2 Hotel Romeo Charlie club call. You will still get your points under your own name, under your own club. You got to talk to Beer Snack. We would love to have somebody from every zone, every whatever you guys call them, every province, every
call area,
5-6 call area.
Let's light it up, guys.
Hit us up. Let's represent. You still get the points. That's the most important for you to remember. You're not going to be left out without points to your call sign. You still get it. Let's have this shindig and make it. Woo! Let's do it.
Spike says it's a hootenanny.
There you go. Hootenanny. Yeah.
Oh, and I got my leather, my crocodile boots, and no I'm joking.
Crocodile. Wow.
Crocodile. Ooh.
I will be W2 HRC /1. I'll be in the Connecticut area. I don't know. Maybe I'll go out to Rhode Island. I haven't. You know something? I'm waiting for Thursday night, Friday's weather forecast. That's going to determine everything for me. Whether I'm going to sit in 2 parks, 5 parks, who knows? But again, we're all going to have that F word, fun. We're going to get on the air and we're going to have fun.
And I'd like to mention that I believe Stroke 5 will be up for grabs because Shane's doing the thing with Mike. I don't know if he's doing that or
he's going to run the Stroke 5 down there.
Okay.
We can run multiples. We just have to make sure we coordinate the times.
I'm on call, so I won't be able to go to a park. So they're too far away.
Hey, you can hunt from the cruiser, you know. Throw a ham stick on
here. I was just going to say, it's called a ham stick.
Throw a ham stick on the cruiser.
Just dispatch, stand by one. And just grab another one. Just make sure you pick up the correct microphone when you answer.
Yeah.
Pictures or it didn't happen.
Brian, are you going to run?
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, either Brian or Mike. When you guys got to run the Stroke 5 for the Clubhouse call sign this weekend?
Which one?
Stroke 8.
Stroke 8.
Stroke 8. Sorry, Stroke 8. Yeah.
Stroke
please.
8. Yeah. Let's put everything on the air. Let's get everything on the air.
All right, Don. Here we go. You ready? I finally have one for you. Okay.
What's that? You got a joke?
What did the 0 say to the 8?
There's a
nice
logical answer.
Belt.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, NAYO just showed up. He says he's late because it was leg day at the gym. Start over. No.
No.
You start over. No, it's been a blast tonight, guys. I'm having a great time. So here we go. Yeah, and Shane, don't grab the wrong mic for yourself either. Tonight especially. So here we go. Support your parks, Jamboree on the air, and apparently Mike just told me it's a New York State QSO party from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. So hey,
bands are going to be packed.
If you want to have a good time. And just be the first guy that's not in New York State to get any points, Joe. You can call to New York and put in for that.
What?
Well,
you didn't know that, Joe. Please help me out here. Go ahead.
Okay, so participate in a QSO party when you hear it, because you could possibly be the only person in your state that submits logs, or your province. Sorry. That submits your log to the QSO party, and you'll get a certificate.
That's a great commercial message right there. That's
everybody gets a participation trophy. So Nick. Scout 75 said he's doing Stroke 9. Awesome. He's got a 2 for park on Saturday morning. He's doing so. Thanks, Scout. And is Dwayne? Are you offering to do Stroke 4? No, he's running his club sign.
He's running their club call. It's okay.
Oh, that's okay.
That's fine.
He's doing Kilo 4 Quebec Whiskey Hotel. The other night, so listen, I gotta tell you, so it was Canadian Thanksgiving, and we went to my in-laws' house yesterday, or the Outlaws, whatever you want to call it.
What do you guys eat? Do you do turkey, cranberry?
The turkey, cranberry. Don't ask me about the food. Anyways,
turkey.
I don't know what it is. My mother-in-law never puts seasoning on the food. It's always like eating cart. I don't know. Every time we have Christmas or Thanksgiving, I can't talk too loud. But I literally tell my wife in the car, I'm like, why doesn't your mom use any type of seasoning? It always tastes like cardboard. What the frig?
So what do you guys?
It's because she's cooking with actual cardboard.
Do you guys bring your own salt and pepper shakers and kind of like slip them in and put them on?
I don't know what it is. It's like the salt has no salt taste. It's like you're more. So anyways, but listen, so we were on the way back and we're driving and it's like 11 o'clock at night. We have to turn around. My son, I forgot my hat and all that stuff. We're going through this small town.
Behind you. You're finna get hit. That was from Hamaholic.
Somebody snapshot that.
it's what's your reaction when you find your voice behind you? It's like, oh, don't it. Don't ever tell my mother-in-law I said that. Anyways, so we're on the way back.
Tell what?
Shut up. And we're going through this town. It's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm bored out of my tree. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, Mike, Charlie, Delta, Oscar, November, Alpha, Lima, Delta. And my wife's like, what are you doing? You're mumbling. And I'm like, Whiskey, Echo, November, Delta, Yankee. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just saying the phonetics of all the signs that I see. And I literally did that for like 45 minutes. It's like, would you shut up? And so that was my night last night. And actually, it's actually a fun little thing I know it's kind of crazy, but try and drive through town and say every sign you see in phonetics. It's actually, I don't know what it is, but when you're driving and you're trying to do it, it's not like you're reading a call sign, you know?
Scout's too much.
Scout says, wow, whoa, now Molson's going to need the chiropractor to fix his neck.
Scout, I actually thought that would have came from Shaq and Greg, but that's very good.
What do you mean Molson has a tree?
He has a tree.
I don't know. Don, that's over my head.
All right. So, well, yeah. Okay. So you've practiced that. You can do every road sign in, phonetics. Wait till you learn CW and try doing it in CW.
Good point.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
I believe that is my next step is to get further along my CW train than just knowing my call sign.
A local friend here, he told me growing up, his dad was really proficient in Morse code, and he is now. But starting like when he was in diapers, every time they went to town, they was traveling. Stop sign, read it in Morse code. Tag number, read it in Morse code. And that's
really
what they done. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a good
Very
idea.
cool.
And just remember, when you're doing the S, it's not sugar. It's Sierra.
I don't know. You got to tell that to Hayden. Hayden's got to get on board.
Sugar baby.
Hayden,
Sugar baby ain't going to get off of that.
It's Santiago. Is what I learned. Santiago. A lot of Europeans use Santiago or sugar, and ocean for Oscar. So no, it's sugar baby. Hamaholic says no. It was actually, I don't know what it was. I just started doing it because I guess I don't know. Anyways, it's one of those. It becomes one of those ticks, So
oh yeah,
whatever. Yeah. So, but no, the worst part about I got to go back to this. The worst part about Thanksgiving dinner. I'm just
she's not listening.
Don't
I
worry.
didn't call her.
Daniel,
So,
don't worry. We won't tell her what you said, okay? We won't share this video as loud as we can anywhere. We won't make sure she's listening to the podcast. We'll even cut this Shane, cut this section out so that it doesn't go on the podcast and send it to her directly.
I swear to you, I didn't call her. I didn't call her either to tell her to be behind you right now. So
the worst part is I'm talking so low because I don't have a door in my shack. There's another door later, but I can't tell. So
you need a vintage radio. I'm
like looking behind me to make sure my wife's not coming in. Anybody who's watching a podcast, I'm like checking behind me, like I'm like some sort of like looking out for the cops. Ooh, 5-0. But anyways, the worst part is like, hey, would you?
He's in that corner.
The warden. That's what it is. The warden.
When the mother-in-law say, hey, you want some more? There's plenty of food. Oh no, I'm good. I'm so full. No, thank you. Then I come home and eat a peanut butter sandwich like that.
You stop at McDonald's or Taco Bell. You stop at McDonald's or Taco Bell on the way home.
Listen, I have to tell you guys, like I can't tell anybody else how I feel about it. It's insane. It's like cardboard every friggin' family dinner. Oh man, it feels good after 17 years of marriage. First time I tell someone nice.
I'm glad that we're counting as your therapy here. So Kurt just put in the chat. Kurt just put in the chat 5-0 on 5-2. There are very few people that will understand that. Okay. All right. 5-0 on 5-2. This is
Kurt, were you there?
Montesano. There was a Montesano event that occurred, and then there was a ham fest somewhere else. But there was a Montesano event back in August that 3 of our guys were at, and apparently somebody called out 5-0 on 146-520. And what happened, Steve? the officer came back and said, "I'm already here"?
Yeah, the park ranger who was headed towards some of the campers is a ham and was listening on 5.2. But the cool part was he came over to the pavilion, was hanging out drinking with us. So, alcohol was allowed in that park. That was good.
You know what it is? It's like the old days of driving through on the various town lines, and you say that police station is monitoring channel 9 CB for emergencies. You remember that? And you'd be like, "Nah, they're not listening." But now all of a sudden, you had a 50 on 5.2. There you go.
Yeah.
What are the chances? 1 in a million.
Well, I'm trying to think.
Wild Cascadia Radio. She thinks that that officer may have been the one who paid for the pavilion, because to this day I don't think anybody here or anybody knows who reserved that pavilion except for the person that did it and the park.
So thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
So whoever did it for the hams that were down there, it was awesome. This guy, this guy had a great time, and Shane, who's stuck somewhere because God forbid, the airplanes don't fall out of the sky. They had a great time. Wish I could have been there, but hey, look, I've got my space. So, hey, I'm glad we're all here. I'm glad we're all having a fun time. It is 2 hours into this. I think that a lot of us are. There's still 49 people watching.
Yep.
I know.
What are we doing?
And Jeff
What did we
didn't
do right tonight?
Jeff didn't even break out with the transoceanic radio or the bass guitar, his Van Halen stuff and Rush. I mean, we can go.
What?
We can
Tracy,
go
what?
Transoceanic radio. He came to our winter field day. It's about 6 of us doing winter field day at our local emergency operations center. Jeff comes in with this black box with a handle on it. And I'm looking and I'm like,
the football.
Okay, cool. My wife brought some nice cupcakes. She did them. She decorated them up as like winter and everything. We're eating them. All of a sudden, he opens up the box. Everyone leaves the radio operating room. They're hanging around Jeff. And I'm like, what's going on? And it was like so cool. It was just so cool it was another type of radio to learn about. And, again, we come into this hobby not only for transmitting in POTA and our shacks, but it's a different type of radio that we're so intrigued by. It's one of those, you go down the rabbit hole and there it is, just waiting for you. So,
Very cool. Listen, man, I'm still in awe looking at the cabinets that you have, and I'm going to have to make the 2.5 hour drive to at least come and see, firsthand, because I'll visit Don first and say hi to everybody.
He'll blow me off. He'll blow me off and say, "Where's Jeff's house?" I'll be. It's actually right down the street from one of my favorite POTA parks. That's the beauty of it. So,
Don, I'm going to activate this park, and when I'm done, I'm not coming back to your place. I'm going to hang out with Jeff for a bit.
I'll drive by Jeff's house, and there's Molson's vehicle sitting in the driveway.
But, yeah, man, we'll play video games in my arcade.
Hell yeah, man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good stuff.
All right, guys. Well, let's do the round robin, go around the room, and finish her up for the night. Done.
Guys, you can find me on Smoke Signals RF on Twitter. I'll be getting back into YouTube in about another month or so. I got to take care of a few things here in my private life, but we'll get that back going. We'll keep on smoking some great cigars. And just like to say thank you to everybody who bought some beers and cigars for us tonight. Special thank you to Jeff. Jeff, you're an amazing guy. I said it, and I stand by that. So we look forward to having you on again. And so thank you.
Well,
let me throw it over to Jeff then. Jeff.
Okay. I was going to say it was a little bit of an awkward silence there. The guys, seriously, thanks for having me. I when Don asked me to do this, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? I'm just like you guys. I'm really not all that interesting, but I guess maybe you thought
Hold on.
So...
Did you just call us not interesting?
No, I just called.
You fired
There
up
it is.
Molten at the end of the
There it
show.
is.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Here you
Mount
go.
Mount
There
Vesuvius
it
just
is.
blew.
No,
Mount
what
Vesuvius.
I said or implied was that I am not
and I
any.
quote, I'm like
I
you
am-
guys, I'm not interesting.
I am not any more interesting than you guys.
We're not
How's
going to
that?
say press 1 in the chat if you want to hear Molson just go after Jeff.
I guess I should have
Sorry.
quit while I was ahead.
Yes.
Seriously, guys, thanks for having me, and I'd love to be back because there is plenty more for me to show off.
Oh
That'd be
yeah,
awesome.
no, dude, we
You
would
can-
definitely love
you
to have you
You
back.
can
for
count
more.
on it.
Cool.
Joe Brett, what do you got going?
Oh, what's up? This is what it is, hanging out. I've kind of ran through some video ideas and my list is empty, so I'm going to scrounge around the place here and try to find something to talk about, I guess, at some point.
Hey Joe,
But,
Joe,
hey,
that's what happens when you put them all out at once.
Ain't that something? Hey, it's like it was like Callum. I was doing an experiment, you know.
Experiment.
Oh,
for the-
okay, all right.
Yeah. So
Experiment.
anyway, yeah, we appreciate having Jeff on, and we're going to get him back on to finish that pretty soon, I imagine. And that's all I got. Just thanks everybody.
Beer snack. What about you? One last time.
So-
Say something.
Say something. So while we're here, all right, Don has been through almost a full cigar. I've been through several adult beverages, and Jeff, these images, amazing. You know, these radios, the amazing things. You know, just to see here. You know, I'm definitely thinking that it to be in their presence would be a completely different thing. I'd love to, you know, come and check them out at some point, you know, in the near future. You're looking at Tuesday nights hanging out here with, you know, my buddies on the Clubhouse, and then Thursday nights hanging out doing Jeff's favorite mode, FT8. We're doing that Thursday nights. We do the FT8 off with T.O. and Dude, and it's just a matter of enjoying what's going on in the hobby. And I'm glad that I have FT8 because it's about the only RF that gets out of my apartment and the only RF I can hear. So I look forward to seeing everybody. As far as content on the channel, yeah, no, you're looking at what I'm doing for a while because too much other stuff going on outside of this and FT8. So thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Steve, what you got?
See what's going on.
You know, if it's not one project, it's another on the house. So hopefully I can get that situated out and get started on the tower project. So I can get some videos going with that. The rotor's good. It's stored safely now. Just got to get the hole dug, concrete, and grounding system put in. But
Excellent.
so there's
All right.
a little bit of video there, but that's Tuesday nights here. You know,
Molson.
Yeah, so I got a bunch of videos. Right now, my antenna project has sort of expanded a bit. I was going to do 2 separate videos, and so I'm still working on it. But like, you know, like all of us, this is a hobby. This is a part-time thing. It's not our job. So the priority is other things first. It's going to be coming. If you want to see some of the projects as they come, we build, we learn. I'm really looking forward to something, and I want to put a little bit of a teaser, but guys, we have been working hard on a concept and idea, and I'm really excited about it. Coming up sometime, hopefully in the near future.
Excellent.
I want you guys to know that there is going to be a really great show. We're looking to get people involved in something, and the premise of this clubhouse was not about us. It was about the community and giving back, and there is something that we're brewing, we're working on, and we want you guys to be involved with it. You are already involved with it, and I wanted to just put that out there, guys, because we are trying our hardest, and maybe we need to have a club meeting, like our first official club meeting at some point, so we can talk with all of our members, and that might be an idea, because guys, we want to make this thing that we're planning to do massive, spectacular, and honestly, I'm excited to give back to the community. That's all I gotta say.
I'll tell everyone right now. Molson just dropped a huge teaser. We had an executive meeting. There was so many light bulbs. There was so much energy that it was amazing that we were able to create something that we think is going to be fantastic. And you guys have the opportunity to be the true winners of this for what we stand for and who you guys are. So
100%.
more to come. And again, everybody, thank you very, very much. Check us out on Team Replay. Check us out on the podcast. W2HRC will light up this weekend through Parks on the Air. So everybody, have yourself a great one. Be safe. Get on the radio. Molson? Beer Stock, you have something? Or are you just saying goodbye?
Get on the air legally. Get on the air legally.
Legally.
Have fun. And remember.
Oh, wait. Hold on. My phone is ringing. Hang on. Who's this?
Other ear, Don. Dumbass.
Your Molson's mother-in-law? No, he said all nice. He said all nice things about you.
Shut the hell up.
He says he can't wait. Christmas dinner. He can't wait to come over for. He can't.
I'm
wait.
literally questioning if they know about the show. Like, I'm in my mind, I'm like, do they know about the show?
Yes, they do.
Do they know? Do they know?
Everybody
know?
Somebody play out that great.
know.
Somebody
sound
play.
that's going through his head right now.
Somebody play out that great
find
music.
out.
All right,
They're
what?
gonna
Hold on.
Before you hit the button.
Hold on. I want everybody. We have 42 people watching right now. If you would like to see Andy Cowley come on this show, I want you to put a 1 in the comment section, because we're going to get our brother over on the other side of the pond to come on this show. Andy, we want you.
First.
Uncle Sam wants you. Yes.
Molson, your
So
mother-in-law agrees. Your mother-in-law agrees. She's absolutely right. We got to get Andy Cowley on here.
Don, you sure that's Dan's mother-in-law and not Mike's mom?
No.
Look at that chat go through, boy.
Wow, look at that.
Wow.
Andy, we'll be in touch, man. It's awesome.
We'll be in
Guys,
absolutely.
wave goodbye. Say
73
goodnight.
boys.
Thanks, everybody.